What is the number one thing that you think couples should be talking about before they tie the knot, before they walk down the aisle? What is the number one conversation, if you had to give them one thing that they should be talking about beforehand?
It's different than what the Catholic Church would tell them.
Okay. Okay.
I think that they should be talking about how they will navigate problems together and not spend so much time talking about how many kids they want to have or how they want to divide finances or any of that. Those things give us a false sense of confidence, in my opinion. As a married person and as someone who's worked with a lot of married people, you change your mind a million times in life. You know, you're going to be married to this person for a long time. And I think that, of course, before you get married, it's lovely to say, how do we want to start off? How do we want to divide finances? And like, what are you thinking as the timeline of kids? Of course. And you need to talk about that again a year later and again 2 years later and all of the time. But what you really need to understand is this a person who can manage stress and is able to have conversations when stressful things happen? So if we decide we want 3 kids, but we find out that we cannot get pregnant, is this a person who is going to be able to have a conversation and negotiate and move forward? When we decide that we want to save X amount of money every single year and then you lose your job, is this a person who's going to be able to say, we wanted to save this money, but you know what? I lost my job, or you have to get cancer treatments and we're not going to save the money because we're going to put it towards that. So to me, if you're going to talk about anything, it's to talk about who are you as a person when life is hard, and what do we agree on? How do we agree to talk about things so that we stay on each other's team?
I love this so much. There was a fantastic book I read called The Co-Founder's Handbook by Tanis George. And she lays out such a detailed structure for building a co-founding relationship. And at the time that I read it, I thought it was astounding, because marriage, really the only other relationship in the world that's quite like it, is co-founding a business together. Anything else, it doesn't quite track. But if you're going to marry somebody, you had better set it up as if you are building the business that will carry through the absolute rest of your life. And so what do you do in a business? Well, yeah, okay, you make sure that you want to start the same kind of business. Okay, we want to build an Italian restaurant. Cool. Well, okay, one of us isn't Italian and the other one's not building a hot dog cart, right? Okay, we want the same restaurant, but one of my dearest friends in the world is a genius when it comes to business. And I remember he sat me down and said, Adam, when you start a business, you don't plan for when things are going to go right. You start immediately with plans for what will happen when things go wrong. If you are building a co-founding relationship, you don't build a contract that talks about how everything's going to be perfect. You build a contract around what could go wrong. You build a contract that tells you, this is how we'll handle disputes. This is what will happen if we want to break up, if we want to split, what will happen, right? The contract for when things go wrong. When you have that in place, you can keep coming back to it, and that can guide you forward. Do that first. What will go wrong? Most couples don't want to think about that. It is so unromantic. No. It is unromantic to imagine that we won't always be this in love, and we won't always be gazing into each other's eyes, talking about how happy we are. But you know what? Are you married, Elizabeth? Are you married yourself? I think you are.
I am, yes.
Beautiful.
I am.
How long?
9 years.
Ooh, good for you. So I'm also married 15 years. I got 5 kids. The 5th one was just born. We live on a farm, and I have to travel extensively for business. When we first got married, I worked very close to home. It was very different. We obviously had no kids. Things have changed dramatically. My career has changed about 3 times since we got married. She was running a business at one point, very much extensively running a business, making more money than I was making, and then helped me go through grad school. Now she's stay-at-home mom with 5 kids. Massive levels of change. Let me tell the couples out there, romance is nice, but at the end of the day, just like Elizabeth has said, you need to plan for what's going to happen when things go wrong. What's going to happen when things are challenging? How will you have those talks? Would your partner even sit still for that talk? Or are they going to dive out the window when you start trying to talk to them about money or about what's going to be, hey, one of us has had cancer. What will be different in our sex life? How will we handle that, right? Elizabeth, you couldn't have said that. Was fantastic. I love that piece. What will go wrong? That is great. What is a second thing that you want couples to start talking about? If not right now before they get married, then talk about it right now after you're married. Have a conversation immediately after this podcast. What's the thing that you think they should leap into right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that any of the cliches can be important. Like, how do you like to be loved? How do you like to be communicated with? One thing that, especially with women and men, if we're talking about those differences, is there's different ways that they like to be communicated with. And sometimes a conflict can start just because of that difference, even though nothing conflictual was actually happening. I see it all the time on this couch where they will be saying, I'm sure you see it. I'm like, you're saying the same thing. Why are you arguing right now? What is happening? But it's because there's two different ways of communicating. Some people are solution coaches and some people are emotion coaches. And what that means is that some people go into a conversation and they're like, great, there's a problem. What are we doing to solve it? This doesn't mean that they don't love you, that they're trying to dismiss you, that they think you're an idiot, that can't solve their own problems. But for an emotion coach, those things that I just said, that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm trying to talk to you about the problem and the way it's making me feel and my worries. And all your solutions are making me feel like you're not listening. I'm annoying you. I'm an idiot. Da 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 da. So you have to figure out, what is your communication style? If your partner is somebody who tends to jump to solutions, instead of getting angry with them, look at it as a helpful thing. I know you like to help me think through things. I appreciate that. Can you meet me in the middle and talk about my feelings first, and then let's do solutions? If your partner is an emotion coach, that might be very irritating to you. You might think, how long are we going to sit and talk about this? I get it. You're sad. You're tired. You're annoyed. I want to fix it. I'm tired of hearing about what you're feeling. Let me fix it. But if you could learn to meet in the middle and value this communication style and say, I can sit with feelings for a moment. I can even share my own. Then what you're going to find is that the other person will be more willing to hear your solutions. So I always say to people, figure it out. Like, who's the emotion coach here and who's the solution coach? And these things can change. So pay attention in the conversation. If you're getting irritated, oh, my partner is being an emotion coach right now. I'm being solution. What if I just stuck with those emotions? So that's one thing that I would tell people to talk about.
If you like this clip, I know you're going to enjoy the full episode. You can watch it right here.